so good.
So my favorite part of that, and this is my first time seeing it too, is when he's coming down the tunnel and he's got the slumped shoulders. Mama gonna knock you out, and he's coming in. I love that stuff. Okay, and you know, some people are like, oh, you know, slumped shoulders. He looks older and stuff. Nah, he's got the slumped shoulders because he's been carrying the progressive movement for 40 years.
Yes. Yes.
So,
he's just a badass in every way. And I love Nina Turner, just simply speaking, she should just do that nonstop. Like, she fires me up. She's such a great speaker. Like, she's so inspiring, and she's the perfect person to support and you know, endorse Bernie Sanders. Like, she speaks truth, there's no question about that, but she knows the exact right words, and she has the exact right tone when she's speaking about these issues.
What's interesting is that when you have a campaign like Bernie's, you have like a bunch of fan-made videos. I feel like they're coming out on almost a daily basis, or probably more like a weekly basis, but still, they're coming out all the time. And you don't see that if it's a candidate that's uninspiring. That means she's by definition inspiring. I have yet to see like a Amy Klobuchar
remix. Well, although
they cut back and forth with her giving a boring speech. Yeah,
ask and ye shall receive. Now somebody in the audience will do one of her going, look under your chair, there's nothing. Look under your chair, there's nothing.
It's amazing how she thought that was a winning message. No, we're gonna do nothing.
Dude, they tried to say after the last debate, it was a concerted effort by the media to say Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Pete were now serious contenders.
Definitely.
Why? Because they went on stage and they yelled at the left and said, we can't do free college, we can't do Medicare for all. Matter of fact, we can't do anything. So they spend all their time telling you what they're against, none of the time telling you what they're for. And the idiots in, you know, the establishment media are like, oh, serious candidate.
Yeah, I don't. The only thing I'm not positive about is idiots. They love that message. Don't worry, we're not going to do anything, and we'll defeat any ideas at real change, because change would rock the boat. They're all doing dandy.
Let's talk about how awesome Nick Hanauer is, okay? Because while we're, you know, discussing this, I start thinking about how people in corporate media, especially people who have contracts as hosts in cable news, yeah, of course they don't want things to change. They're making millions of dollars in their contracts. They don't want to pay more in taxes for these, you know, proposals that Bernie Sanders is putting out there. But then I think about Nick Hanauer, and homeboy's rich as hell, right? But he talks about, you know, how rigged this economic system is in his wonderful podcast that everyone should listen to, Pitchfork Economics. Yeah, it is. I want to make sure I get it right. I think that someone who is that wealthy and is willing to put themselves in a situation that's less comfortable is awesome.
FDR, traitor to his class.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, look, what I like about Nick is how logical he is. And so in a sense, he's actually, and he says this all the time, looking out for his own self-interest. He's like, look, I think it's way better, these policies are way better for the poor, way better for the middle class, but they're also better for the wealthy, because we can't build moats wide enough, we can't build gates high enough, and we all live on the same planet. So this is like, they're not going to run out of money. So anyone who is that wealthy trying to accumulate more wealth is irrational. Their real concern should be, don't run out of the planet, okay, because there is no planet B, and don't have people grabbing pitchforks.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't really matter if you have 800 million or 8 billion, right? But it does matter if people start grabbing pitchforks.
Yeah, and you know, so this gets talked about a lot, and it gets exploited for right-wing talking points, but homelessness and poverty in California is a serious issue. And just to comment on the idea of building moats, you know, obviously I'm not wealthy, but I'm comfortable. You know, I'm able to pay my bills and all that. And there's been an increasing number of like break-ins to our building. I don't know how they do this, but like the gate that opens to the garage where people park their cars, every morning I wake up and it's broken. They break it and they break into cars. And it's like, on one hand you get upset, right? Because you're like, God damn it, people are breaking into our cars and this and that. But on the other hand, I totally get what's happening. People are desperate. There's people living on the streets right now who are hungry, who are dying, and when you're desperate, you'll do anything to get the resources you need to live.
Here's my radical solution to that. Put a roof over all their heads.
Yeah.
And that's not...
But that's a big issue.
I did a study. It turns out the homeless are missing homes. No, but the thing is, like, and this can appeal to conservatives as well, because they've studied this in detail, because certain cities have acted on this. And it turns out that you actually save taxpayers a lot of money if you just put a roof over homeless people's heads. So it's not only the morally correct thing to do, it's also the fiscally conservative thing to do, because when homeless people are out on the streets all the time, they end up having run-ins with the cops, they end up having to go to the hospital, it ends up being a bigger bill for the taxpayer. So when you have the answer that's the correct answer, both morally and fiscally, it's like, well, what are we waiting for? It's just that there is no lobby for the homeless people in Washington, D.C., and I think that's the main problem.
In fact, I talked to someone running for LA City Council earlier this week on the conversation, and she made devastating points. LA spends $100 million on imprisoning the homeless.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I forget if this is exactly right. Don't quote me on it. Go back and watch the interview, but I think she said 3/4 of the money we spend on the homeless is to imprison them.
Yeah.
So that's insane. It goes exactly to the point that Kyle was making. And so, of course, whenever you make good points like that, they go, no, incrementalism. Let's just, let's keep most of the homelessness. Let's just try to see if we can, deal with 5 to 10% of it.
And for the conservatives, it's not like I'm saying, oh, give them all, whatever, 4,000 square foot home in Malibu with like a pool and whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying,
can I get one of those?
Just put a roof over their heads,
Yeah.
Just have a place where they can sleep and they're safer.
So one more comment on this. So California did pass a proposition where they increase taxes, and then the money from those taxes goes toward housing for homeless people. So the money's there, but now the hardest part is getting residents in these communities to agree to the housing for the homeless, right?
Of course.
So I remember
same thing in New York.
Yeah. So last year there was like a giant protest near where I live on a corner, and I'm like, oh, what is this? What is this about? And I thought that they were so naive. I thought they were protesting in favor of the homeless, like do something.
Yeah.
No, they were upset that one of the housing developments for the homeless was going to be in our community, and I'm like, okay, so wait, let me get this straight. You're more in favor of like the sidewalk being lined with tents after 10:30 p.m. every night? Because that's what happens. So there's now an ordinance where no tents are allowed until after 10:30. So one night when I was walking my dog, I'm like, oh my God, there were tents everywhere.
Yeah.
How is that better?
They care more about property and property value than they do about the human beings. And that's that's just something that's really sad.
Yeah. Look, same thing in my neighborhood. You can say, you can protest against that we don't have that kind of movement. But I'm sure if we did, people would protest against it in liberal LA, right? But I'm like, guys, what difference does it make? There's homeless people all around us now. They live here anyway. One guy camped out in front of my front lawn a couple of weeks ago.
Jeez.
Yeah, what's he gonna do? Like, people get mad at them. Like, you get mad at what? Either he has some mental health issue, in which case, who are you getting mad at? It's such a weird thing to get mad at someone who has a mental health issue, right? Or he's absolutely desperate. Like, and how does, I'm going to call the cops or whatever. And then okay, then we're going to kick his ass, and what does that solve, right?
What about rehab centers? I don't know the details of this. Maybe you do, Cenk, or you too, Anna. I don't know, but this is before hard time, to be honest. In the Reagan era, did they empty out all of the mental health facilities?
Yes.
And the rehab facilities?
100%.
So
And that really hurt.
And nobody said after that, hey, that was kind of really crazy. Why did we do that?
That was literally, right? Yeah. And no, everybody was like, oh no, Reagan's a god. Clearing out all the mental health facilities and turning them into Republican voters was a good idea. Okay.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Anyways, look, guys, it doesn't mean you leave the guy on your lawn. It means you come up with sane solutions, right? So that you're not, so this problem doesn't overwhelm you. Anyway, the last thing I need to turn to, then I want to turn to bashing Dave Rubin, because that's always the fun.
Say,
yeah.
When's that coming? I'm waiting for that.
Yeah. So, the first time It wasn't the first time I saw Nina. It was the first time I saw her do a speech like
Tucker
this.
Carlson's show, and tried to argue that the reason why wildfires are happening in California is because there's diversity at the utility companies that are privatized, like PG&E.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So there were other portions of that conversation that I wanted to share with you. So let's go to this next video where he argues, you know what, the problem is there just aren't enough right-wingers in California.
I hate to tell you, but we just don't have enough clear thinking, say more libertarian or conservative-minded people in California to fight what the progressives are doing to the state. You know, and if I've learned anything by living in California, and Los Angeles specifically, it's that no matter what happens, ideology seems to trump rationality. Yes, so in the 6 years that I've been here, the amount of homeless encampments have expanded. Virtually every exit you get off the 405 or the 101, there are now homeless people sitting right there, or actually that have basically built structures at the exits. Now it's like, if raising taxes on everybody and supposedly the progressive policies that care about poor people, if these things worked, wouldn't the places that progressive policies were enacted, wouldn't there be less homeless? Wouldn't there be less gun violence? All the things that they talk about. But no, there's always more.
Dave Rubin saying ideology seems to trump rationality is rich. Very, very rich.
By the way, I have an answer for his thing. Scandinavia. They're doing lovely, and they have high taxes on the rich, and they're actually kicking our butt in every conceivable, measurable way when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, when it comes to middle-class incomes, when it comes to time off, when it comes to quality of life.
Too many high-level important ideas. His brain is now in recovery mode again.
Yes.
But try a little harder, man. Like, try a little harder. You're getting paid really well to be a political commentator. Like, at least make it so I don't laugh at you and think you're a pathetic human being. And in that same interview, what he actually blamed the wildfire spreading on the fact that there's more diversity. This is coming from the guy who says, you know, the left never shuts up about identity politics, and I'm really sick of it. And then every time he talks about politics, it goes right to identity politics. How many times has he said in a tweet, you know, as a gay man, I don't care that you're gay! I do not care that you're gay, and that is not relevant to the discussion. You're doing the exact same thing that you say you hate.
But because that's why he gets a paycheck, so that he can go on and say, as a gay man, I'd like to blame the LGBT community for those fires. That's literally what he did earlier in the segment. And when he talked about diversity hiring, the first group he mentioned was LGBT. Then he mentioned black firefighters. So apparently black firefighters and gay folks who work at PG&E are the ones that started the fires, not climate change, and definitely not the private company of PG&E. But it was gay people and black people. But look, that's why they bring him on, because they need a puppet. They need someone who's gay to blame gay people for fires. And Dave Rubin says, "Where's my check?" My favorite part of that clip we just showed was, "If I've learned anything by living in California, well, nope, you didn't." So I don't need to hear the rest of it.
So this comment isn't about Dave, it's about Tucker. Someone has to have told him at this point. Like, someone has to have told him that he needs to stop making that confused look.
I enjoy the face.
So
I know. Why does he do that?
What?
He must be surrounded by the same yes men that Trump is, that no one can tell him, Tucker, stop looking befuddled every time there's a guest on.
That is the definition of a dumb face. Like, he looks, I mean, just on...
Oh, maybe it's on purpose. Maybe it's on purpose. Because, like, to empathize and connect with his audience. He thinks his audience is filled with idiots, so he's like, watch, I'll try this. He's like, no, not good enough. Hold on, let me try again. No, hold on. I think I almost got it. That's it. Nailed it, Tucker. Do that every night. They'll love you. They'll think they're looking at the mirror.
What's really interesting is the demographics of his show. So I have family members. I have conservative extended family members, and I was talking to one of them recently, and it's relatively consistent. This is anecdotal, but the demographics actually back this up. The older generation is not as big of a fan of Tucker, and especially older women are not a big fan of Tucker. He's found a way to kind of transfer a young right-wing audience, and that's who he's gunning for. Yeah. And like the main trick that they use is, again, as they act like they hate identity politics, every conversation somehow comes back to identity politics. And like, what I would say to these people is, for the love of God, please, for just a split second, put aside the identity politics conversation. Take a look at economics, take a look at taxes, take a look at trade, take a look at foreign policy, because these are the things that are actually impacting people's lives in like a really, really deep and important way. And if you actually, get out of this bubble just a little bit, even if you just do a little bit of like Wikipedia-ing one night, maybe you'll walk away with some different opinions.
I know, Kyle, but like, here's what you're missing. He's not going to get paid to do that. You get what I'm saying? Like the way that this whole media ecosystem is set up is the people with the money will pay the hacks because they want to protect their bottom line and their financial interests. So did Dave Rubin really have some sort of awakening, political awakening? Of course not. That's why he can't even defend anything he says.
Yeah, he has an angle. He found an angle and he's exploiting that
and
angle.
it's worked out really well for him financially. Now, he embarrasses himself on television on a regular basis, but if you have no principles, if you have no shame, then it doesn't matter. You're collecting that check and you're good.
Yeah.
What was the thing he said on Rogan? Like what he thought the post office, something with the post office.
He said that we should get rid of the post office because they don't do anything right. And then Joe Rogan was like, the post office is awesome, right? And then immediately he's like, well, you know, I get my baby chicks delivered to
by
me
the USPS.
Yeah. And then Rogan's like, that's
the
literally
post
the
office.
only way you can do it, right? That's the only. And by the way, the post office, they didn't get into this at all, but the post office is the only delivery service that delivers to rural parts of the country.
Because it's not profitable for the actual private companies to do it, so you need the post office to fill in that gap.
They don't do anything right. That's my idea.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could bust them up in a million different ways, continue to do that about that particular clip, but I do want to point out one more hypocrisy before we get to the next one. He's like, you know, if there's one thing I've learned in California, the problem is that it doesn't have enough conservatives and libertarians. Wait, I thought you were posing as some form of a liberal, because I remember the last time you were on Tucker Carlson, you said that you would talk to your friends on the left and convince them that Tucker was right. So wait, are you on the left, or is the problem that there's not enough conservatives in California? So when you're humiliating yourself on national television, try to be a little consistent about it.
That's a great point. And I'm also just that. I'm sorry, but whenever they bring the geographic argument up, like, hey, here's this place, and this place has left-leaning people, and I think it's bad. I don't want to have this conversation at all, but if we're going to have this conversation, Mississippi and Alabama, highest poverty rate in the country, happens to be very right-wing. Drop the mic, we're done. Next.
No, but like, no, here's the thing. While the vast majority of voters in California are left-wing, the reality is a lot of the California politicians are corrupt corporate hacks. Period.
They block single payer. They block single payer.
And not only that, I mean, like, look, one of the things that's really contributing to poverty is the corruption between our local politicians and the real estate developers, right? So, like, anyway. I'm
trying desperately not to say policy points, but all right, two more.
Okay.
As quickly as I can. LA, the reason that we have out of control homelessness, we spend a quarter of the resources that New York City does. So it's not that New York City doesn't have homelessness problem as well, because they also have completely unaffordable housing. But LA's is far worse. Why? Because we spend less money, not because we spend more money. It's deeply misleading to say that. Oh, they still have gun violence. Oh, Chicago, hey, it's the black firefighters and the black people in Chicago that are all the problems. No, the reality is, if you look at the numbers, the red states have far more gun violence per capita than the blue states that have much tighter gun regulations. So they are factually incorrect, as always.
So let's hear the next non-point that Rubin wants to make.